Are people going to vote? And why aren't people voting?
Michelle Obama recently expressed concern about people not voting. She said that she's worried that we take this democracy for granted.
Those are the things that keep me up, because you don't have control over them. And you wonder, where are we in this? Where are our hearts? What's going to happen in this next election?
She said this at a time where people are becoming increasingly aware and critical of what the West defines as democracy, as people shout 4 more years in response to outcries about stopping the genocide in Gaza. She questions where are the hearts of the people, as if it isn't clear that they are with the oppressed. People in historic Palestine, and the Congo, and Tigray, and Sudan, and Haiti, etc. And this heart is reflected in the actions of the people, as we are seeing one of the loudest outcries against war and genocide in recent history. As she says all this, I can't help but think of Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright, the former pastor of the Obamas.
The guy who puts up with me, counsels me, listens to my wife complain about me. He's a friend and a great leader.
The Reverend Dr. Wright, who himself held historically grounded and righteous criticisms of America that were all but dismissed as the ramblings of a paranoid man who hated his country. Fox News put this clip and others on a loop and put it on TV screens all across America.
No, 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 not God bless America, God damn America.
Barack and Michelle distanced themselves from the teachings of Jeremiah Wright.
Moving forward, Reverend Wright does not speak for me. He does not speak for our campaign. When I say I find these comments appalling, I mean it. It is completely opposed to what I stand for and where I want to take this country.
The Boondocks made light of it a couple years later during their episode about Obama.
I say America, America's mother, America's daddy, America can eat it, America can lick the balls.
But despite these distortions, you can see the heart of Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright in his scathing critique of America, a people-rooted message preached over 20 years ago. And after you watch this, if you're able to in the comments, just do me a favor and try and point out the lie.
The fact that people think that government, does it really even do anything? And I'm like, oh my God, does government do everything for us?
Governments fail. The government in this text, comprised of Caesar, Quirinius, Pontius Pilate, Pontius Pilate. The Roman government failed. And the United States of America government, when it came to treating her citizens of Indian descent fairly, she failed. She put them on reservations. When it came to treating her citizens of Japanese descent fairly, she failed. She put them in internment prison camps. When it came to treating the citizens of African descent fairly, America failed. She put them in chains. The government put them on slave quarters, put them on auction blocks, put them in cotton fields, put them in inferior schools, put them in substandard housing, put them in scientific experiments, put them in the lowest paying jobs, put them outside the equal protection of the law, kept them out of their racist bastions of higher education, and locked them into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America? No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating her citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
This sermon was given in 2003, historically grounded prophetic truth-telling. But this is how Michelle Obama reflected on that time in her book Becoming, one of the best-selling memoirs of all time. She said he was careening through callous and inappropriate fits of rage and resentment at white America, as if white people were to blame for every woe. She said she and Barack grew up with some narrow-minded elders, and that's likely the reason that they overlook what she describes as the more absurd parts of Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright's preaching. She said the whole thing was a reminder of how our country's distortions about race could be two-sided, that the suspicion and stereotyping ran both ways. That's how she reflects on that time, on some of those words, with dismissals, mischaracterizations, and false equivalencies between the black and white experience in America. Barack Obama did some of that on his own by falsely equating the bitterness and resentment of the black and white experience in America.
To wish away the resentments of white Americans, to label them as misguided or even racist without recognizing they are grounded in legitimate concerns, this too widens the racial divide and blocks the path to understanding.
It is this false equivalency that some of us caught wind of, one rightly named and explicitly called out by Dr. Cornel West.
Now, I believe in staying in contact with the humanity of my precious white brothers and sisters. But they need to understand that in a white supremacist civilization, when you've been the beneficiary of unbelievable privilege and entitlement, your resentment will never have the same weight morally and spiritually as a black rage who've had to come to terms with foremothers and forefathers raped and violated and exploited and lynched. And when he presented that equivalent, it made me upset. I said, you're not telling the truth.
Reverend Dr. Jeremiah Wright is brilliant. He's a scholar, divinity school graduate of University of Chicago with 3 honorary doctorates, community leader, nationally renowned preacher, and he also did 6 years of military service.
Critics have said that your sermons are unpatriotic. How do you feel about America and about being an American?
I feel that those citizens who say that have never heard my sermons, nor do they know me. They are unfair accusations taken from sound bites and that which is looped over and over again on certain channels. I served 6 years in the military. Does that make me patriotic? How many years did Cheney serve? My goddaughter's unit just arrived in Iraq this week, while those who call me unpatriotic have used their positions of privilege to avoid military service while sending over 4,000 American boys and girls of every race to die over a lie.
This man knows his history, knows American history, and simply telling it got him publicly denounced by the Obamas, nationally ridiculed and attacked even by some in the black community, and defamed and interrogated on national news networks. His church was labeled the Black Separatist Movement, and Michelle Obama cemented on her historical record in the book Becoming that his prophetic rage was callous and inappropriate. So if you're confused about why Barack Obama said that we all have blood on our hands,
You then have to admit nobody's hands are clean, that all of us are complicit to some degree.
or why Michelle Obama is kept up more at night by people not voting as opposed to the documented genocides and imperial violence that we see unfolding before us, much of which her husband carried out during his time, know that these actions have roots. Obama's presidency was only able to be secured because he and Michelle publicly rejected the truth about America and her actions, as told by one of the great prophetic preachers of our time.
Unfortunately, as an American politician, you can't get too close to that kind of prophetic fire, or you get burned.
And a reminder that this is how the conversation went when Barack Obama asked Reverend Wright to stop preaching until after the presidential election.
The senator came to my home to ask me to stop preaching until after the election. I've been preaching this way for 50 years, regardless of who's running for what office. Carol Moseley Braun, Harold Washington, Barack Obama. That doesn't change or affect or alter the gospel in any way. He then paid me one of the highest compliments I've ever had paid to me. He said to me, you know what your problem is? I said, what's my problem? As a preacher, you have to speak the truth. I said, that's a good problem to have.
Love and liberation to you all, and as always, like and follow for more content.